Chin. There was a little study hall where about 30, 40 boys studied day and night. It was out of the way, so none of the townspeople would ever get there except for the teachers. And the boys studied without any interruption, day and night. One of the boys was Rabbi Miletsky, who was to be the dean of the Academy of Higher Lim in Jerusalem. The only person who ever visited them besides the lecturers was an old man who nobody knew anything about. His name was Yitzchak, and they called him Itche. But they also called him Itche the drunk, Itche the shikr, because he spent most of the day sleeping under the tables. And he had with him a little brown bag with a little pint. And every so often, he would take a nip of that pint, smile, and go back to sleep. One night, a man came in hurriedly, and he said, "Boys, my horse veered off of the road, the wagon turned over, and the reins are choking my horse. Please save my horse." There was a tumult. They didn't know what to do because they were studying Torah, and Torah is more important than any other commandment if there were other people around. So they told the man, "Please go to the householders. There are people around in their houses. Let them first. Let's try to get them first before you take students away from their lessons." The tumult ensued. And Itche woke up. He says, "Boys, what's going on?" They said, "This man, his horse is off the road, and the wagon's turned over and choking the horse." He says, "So, boys, you have to go. There are other people around. They should first go." So he says, "Boys, you don't understand. You have to go now to save the horse. And if you don't go now, you may not be able to walk later. God, everything is mida keneged mida. When you do something good, you get rewarded, and if not, God forbid, you won't be able to walk." Chaim Miletsky looked at Itche the drunk incredulously. The first time he heard him say anything, he says, "Itche, are you really a rabbi telling us what to do?" And Itche became silent. Anyway, the boys told the man to go looking in the other households. The man went, frustrated, knocked on the households, but of course at 11 p.m., when it's raining and cold and miserable outside, nobody wanted to open up and go. And so he came back a few minutes and says, "Boys, nobody's opening up. Please, you got to help me." And this time the boys went out, but by the time they gotten there, the horse was already dead. The next morning, Itche the drunk comes into the hall and he says, "Where's Chaim Chaikel? Where's Chaim Chaikel?" So they get Chaim Chaikel. He says, "Chaim Chaikel, I need you." "What do you need me for, Itche?" He says, "Well, tonight I'm going to die at exactly 1 a.m. And I want you to be there when my soul departs. I don't die alone. So please come to the end of town where my house is. It's the last shack on the road outside the town, and be there with me. Come at 9 p.m. So he figured he would humor him. Nobody knows when they're going to die, but he was all alone. He felt that he had to do something as a favor to him. And so 9 p.m. takes his Talmud volume, and he walks and he walks and he walks to the end of town, and the shacks are getting uglier and uglier. And finally he comes to the shack with boards for windows, with rags to plug up the holes, and he comes into a one-room shack where Itche is sleeping on a mattress with his face to the wall. There's a little stove that gives heat and you can cook on, and a table with a box for a chair, a couple of drawers out, strewn about with some pots and pans and some utensils, and those are the whole material goods of Itche the drunk. Itche was sleeping, decided not to wake him. There was a lamp, so he took his Talmud at the table and studied 1 hour, 2 hours. It's 12 o'clock, it's 3 hours. This is not fair. And Itche's still sleeping. He decided this is just a joke. And he picked up the Talmud and was ready to go. And Itche said, "Chaim Chaikel, don't go. I need you." He says, "Why?" He says, "Because at 1 a.m. I'm going to die. And I need you to be here." He says, "What do you mean you know when you're going to die? Only the righteous know when they're going to die." He says, "Chaim Chaikel, I'm going to die at 1 a.m., I'm telling you. And I want to be buried in the old cemetery next to the holy man of Suchin At this point, Chaim Chaikel started laughing. You, Itcher, the drunk, wants to be buried next to a holy man? Why, you don't even study Torah. You never put a tefillin. How could you? I never put on tefillin? How dare you? He said. Look at that drawer. You'll see my tefillin. He took the first drawer, opened up a bag, and in that bag was the most beautiful pair of tefillin you'd ever seen. And suddenly his hands are shaking. Suddenly Itcher may not be a drunk. He may be a holy man. He says, look in the second drawer. In the second drawer you see my writings. And you show them my writings, they'll let me be buried there. And he pulls out the writings, and it's all in Kabbalah. Itcher the drunk was a facade. He was really covering up on a holy man who did not want to be identified. Itcher, you're really a saint. You're really a holy man. So last night you cursed us. You said we wouldn't be able to walk. He says, yes. I was sorry as soon as I uttered those words. And that's why I kept silent when you asked me. And now, just wait. And exactly at 1 o'clock, he said, Shema Yisrael. And when he said Echad, his holy soul departed. This time, Chaim Chaikel ran to the rabbi's house. The rabbi was up. They would get up at midnight. And he came to the rabbi panting. He says, Rabbi, Itcher the drunk is really not Itcher the drunk. He's really a holy man. These are his writings. And the rabbi looked at the writings and said, this was not Itcher the drunk. This was Rabbi Itcher. Where does he want to be buried? Next to the tzaddik of Stuchin. So it will be, and I will be there at the funeral. The next morning, all the people of Stuchin were buzzing. Itcher the drunk, the man they had embarrassed and made fun of, was really a hidden saint. They were all broken-hearted, how they treated another human being, especially a holy man. What could they do? When they came to the burial place of the holy man, there should have been no place, but Itcher was a very skinny man. There was just enough place for a skinny little man to be buried next to the saint where he wanted. And now, Chaim Chaikel Miletsky had been cursed, together with the other 30 boys, not to be able to walk. He told the story over at the wedding of his beloved son. And he said, all of my friends have died before me. They all died without being able to walk. Even those who were killed in the Holocaust could not walk before they died. And I'm the last one. And today, the doctors told me I'll never be able to walk. And in fact, they recommended that I amputate my feet because it may cause my death. And he started to cry, and everybody cried with him. There was one man who was crying with him. His name was Rabbi Hoffman, a very great man, Rabbi Friedman. He was a great man and also a friend of the Lubavitcer Rebbe. He wrote the Rebbe a letter. Chaim Chaikel Miletsky is a holy man, a good man, a beloved teacher. Why should he die and not be able to walk? The Rebbe answered him, it says, and you shall go in God's ways. If he will go in the pathways of my saintly father-in-law and study the Chumash, the 5 books of Moses, as it's divided on a daily basis with Rashi's commentary, as well as the teachings of the Tanya on the yearly basis, and the Psalms as they're divided according to the days of the month, then I promise him he'll be able to walk. And the more he will get other people to do the same, that will increase his health. Reb Leib took the letter and flew, went fast, to Jerusalem. Reb Chaim Chaikel read the letter, kissed it, and immediately followed the Rebbe's advice. A short while later, Reb Leib Friedman visited Reb Chaim Chaikel Miletsky, and he said, they're no longer talking about amputating my feet. I can walk with a cane, and I'm hoping soon to walk without one.